Hey folks, Roby here with the Divi Engine team, bringing you this part 3 in our Divi tutorial on how to put together an awesome hero section with a fancy full screen menu and hover effect on desktop. In the last video, we left you with this mobile menu on desktop that expands into a full screen menu. If you missed that or any of the other parts, click the link up here in the top right corner and we'll transport you to that playlist. As for today, it will all come together by way of some jQuery magic to bring this hover effect to life. And for those of you looking for the cheat codes on how to do this super quickly and easily, check the link in the description of this video titled Divi Mobile Cheat Code. So without wasting any more time, let's fall right into it. Okay guys, so as usual, we're going to start in the back end of a Divi site. And what we're going to be doing first here is adding the background text to that global header, this one that we built last time, right over here, so that it includes that background text you see when we hover these items. But first we need to add it to this header. So let's go to the back end of our site here. And then we're just going to go here. We're going to go to Divi. We're going to say theme builder, and we're going to open the global header that we built in part 2 of this tutorial. So open that up. It'll pop up here with all the elements. This is a little easier when you utilize the module view. So let's get started by adding a new row that will house that background text. We're going to go with a single column row. And for now, I'm going to just close this pop-up modal. And we're going to configure some settings on this row. So let's open up those. First things first, we're going to change the background color to be that charcoal 17-17-17 color. Alrighty, so that's in there. And then we're going to go over to the design tab, and we need to work on the sizing. Basically, what we're going to be doing is making this section here go full screen and lie behind this row over here. So let's go to sizing here. We're going to go ahead and set the width to be 100%. And then also the max width to be 2560 or whatever your max is over here. Next up, we will create a little bit of spacing. So we'll open up that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take away all the padding and the margin on this row. And it'll all make sense once we add the jQuery. Don't you worry. And then the last thing we'll add is we'll go to the Advanced tab here. Now on the CSS ID and classes, we want to add a CSS class, and that is de-menu-bg.container. As this is the container that will house the text that will display in the background. So we're going to go ahead and save and commit those changes. And then we'll quickly add a text module. And this will be the text that displays that big, hovered link text in the background. So I think to note here is that you will style this module according to how you want it to display on the screen when the user is hovering those links. So it's nice and easy. You can always come back and style it very easily. But there is like one little caveat here. Basically, what we're going to be doing when we add the JavaScript is we're going to take this body text here and we're going to replace it with the currently hovered menu link. So to do that and not create any issues and display something that we don't want to see before a hover happens, we're going to put in just a blank space. And that you achieve by typing and NBSP semicolon. That will just make it a blank space. If we go here into the visible view, you can see that it just has that background, but there's no text there. So let's just go back into module view. And things get a little funky because of the code that we're adding here. So don't worry about viewing this in the visual boulder mode. Module mode is definitely the better way to look at this. So let's open the text again. And now I'm going to design my text. So we don't need to add anything. Oh, there's actually one thing we do need to add here. We need to make sure that this is in a paragraph tag, because what our jQuery is going to do, and I'll explain that a little bit later, is it's going to look for this p tag. It's going to take whatever's inside of it, chuck it out, and replace it with a hover text. So very important to add the p tags there. Okay, back to design. Now we're going to go and check out the text. We're going to change the text font to this Yantra Manav. It's a nice bold font. It looks great when you hover it, and we'll do a great job of achieving our goals here. Now we're going to go and use the heavy font weight, and we're going to use the text font style to uppercase any characters in our menu. Just looks a little bit better. It's entirely up to you how you want to style that, but that's how we're going to go about doing that. Now for the text color, we're going to select white, but then what we're going to do is we're going to add some opacity to it. So our alpha channel, and we'll drag that all the way down to 10% opacity, so 0.1. That is going to look fantastic. Then you'll have that light grayish effect that we have here when we're hovering our menu. So it kind of like takes on the background color. So if that background color was red, it'll be a little bit more of a soft red color. So it just works really nicely overall with the whole setup. So got that text color in there. Now the text size is massive. It's 320 pixels. Now what that does, it makes that text nice and full on the screen. The user can clearly see what's going on, and it just gives that, adds a little bit to that effect, which I love. So we're going to add a little bit of shadow to this also. We're going to use option 4 here. First option is, of course, no shadow. We'll select that. And we're not going to mess with the shadow settings. The last thing we want to do is make sure that alignment is centered. Now, one more thing that we got to do is hit that advanced tab. And as you guessed it, CSS ID and classes. We need to add a specific class here, and it's DE-menu-BG for background -text, because this is the text that we'll be displaying. And then we can go ahead and save that up. And let's just save the layout. And we have this step of the process completed, but there's really nothing to go view on the front end now, because if we go here to our layout and refresh, it's just going to show this little funky background here. It's not really going to make sense because the code has not been implemented yet. We do need to make some changes to the CSS and then add that jQuery. So let's get to the CSS in the next step. Okay, so as I said, we have to modify the existing CSS on the page and then also add a little bit more CSS to bring that animation and the fade in and all the different elements together of that text background effect. Now, because we've got this row here, first we're going to need to remove a line of CSS and then just add one of our classes. So let's open up this code. And since we'll be adding some jQuery code later, I like to put admin labels on these things. So I'm going to put CSS code here so that when I look at it here in module view, nice and easy, I can see this is going to be my CSS code. And later when I add my jQuery code module, I'll name it jQuery code. Makes it easy and organized. That way, if another developer works on your site or maybe you're training somebody, they know where to go to make changes. So opening up my code again here, I'm going to expand this a little bit. And just again, guys, all the code sections and modules and anything that you're going to be needing regarding the code will be linked in the description of the video. There's also a text version of this video that you can follow that has all of that embedded in that post for you. So it keeps it nice and easy. So the first thing we go and do here is we've got our code open. We're going to go to line 26-ish here, where we're going to go find DE burger menu right here that says that when it's opened, it applies a bunch of styles to it. Now, what we need to do is add that background container that we added to the row there right here. So now this is going to apply all this styling to our container that we have here, this row, which is our text background container. So let's just scroll back down. There it is in there now. And we need to delete one line of code. And this is this background text color. We no longer need that as that's being set by that container. So we'll delete that one out right there. And that is the modifications as far as the CSS that is here. Now we'll scroll to the bottom of this code, and right before this style tag, we'll give ourselves a little bit of room. And then what you're going to do is you're going to copy and paste the code linked in this video and in the text article. And I have it copied to my clipboard. I'll paste it right in here. And then let's talk about this code a little bit. So we've got a class here called DE menu BG show, DE menu text show. This basically reveals that container and the text inside of it when it is triggered. So we're going to use jQuery to trigger this class. So basically removing it and adding it depending on what's happening on screen. And the trigger for that will be this icon right here. When that's clicked, it's going to toggle it. If it's clicked again, it's going to toggle it off. So it's a smart way to use jQuery. And I'll explain that again when we go through the jQuery code. But you can see here that it sets the visibility to visible. It sets the opacity to 1. And then we're good to go. Next up, we've got the background text here. So this makes a little bit of other magic happen where we set it to flex. That just means how it sits on the page. We're going to justify the content to center. That's going to 100% center that text. We're going to put the white space to no wrap. Now, what this does, instead of stacking your text above each other when you're breaching the edges of the viewport, it's just going to let it overflow. Now, speaking of the overflow, we set our margin left and right to negative 100%, and that just creates a little bit of extra space for that overflow. So there we go. And then lastly, we're going to initialize that full screen menu background. So again, the row that we just added, this guy right here, to be invisible initially. So we're hiding it when the page loads, and we're going to use jQuery to bring it in and out. So that's not too bad. That's pretty easy to do. These are the CSS modifications we're making. And in the next step, we're adding the jQuery and we're going to bring it all together. All right, so here we go. It's time to add the jQuery that's going to show that text when the menu links are hovered. It's going to look awesome. So we're going to continue here in the theme builder in that global header that we've been working with this whole time. What we're going to do is we're going to add another code module. So I'll just type in code here, brings up a code module. Now remember, I promised I'm going to rename this admin label so that I am not getting confused with the different blocks of code I have on the page. So this now says jQuery code, that CSS code, makes it super simple to kind of differentiate between the two. Now with this added, we need to add some script tags because what we're adding is some JavaScript. So that will make sure that the browser processes that as JavaScript code and not something else. If you don't put any tags there, what it's going to do is going to read it as HTML, and that is not what we want. Now, the jQuery code we're going to be pasting here is linked in the description of this video. There's a text version of all this. So go ahead, open that, copy, and paste it into and in between those script tags. Very important detail there. And let's quickly take a walk through what's happening here. At the top, we're initializing jQuery to say that, hey, when the document is ready, we want you to do some stuff. So we've got the mobile menu bar, which basically is the class that's associated with this hamburger icon that we have here. I'm going to refresh this really quickly, and you can see that things have not come together yet just as nicely as we'd like to, but that's where the jQuery does its magic. So coming back here, that means we're going to look for a click on that hamburger icon. What we're doing then, remember, I told you that we're going to be toggling this DE menu background container with the class DE menu BG show class. And that is just going to fade that background in and out as we click that hamburger menu. And it does it by adding and removing this class over and over. Now, the next part of magic that happens is we're taking a look at the document again, and then we're looking at when the mouse enters or leaves a menu item. And let me show you. These are your menu items. So whenever the mouse enters the container for that link, it's going to execute the following code. And you were saying that if e.type equals mouse enter, so when it's moving into that space, we're going to say the link text is equal to the A of the HTML that's being hovered. And that basically, if we're looking here, now it's home. Now that variable will say our menu. Now it'll say about us. Now it will say contact us. So it'll assign that to that variable. And now we go with that last bit of really important stuff, which is content to change. So we are going to change the DE menu-bg-text p tag. So what is contained within that? So then we go, this is the DE menu content menu bg text p tag. The HTML, we're going to change it to link text, which is the currently hovered item. And that's that. So basically, very easily, the else here will say that if the mouse is not entering, of course, it's leaving. So we want to reset that text, so that background text that shows, to nothing. And that's it, guys. That's the jQuery code we use here. It seems like it's a super complex thing, but it's actually super simple. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Okay, so now with that code saved, we added the jQuery code. Let us risk it all by refreshing this page and seeing what happens. Okay, we can see that that black bar already disappeared because of that initialization CSS we used. Let's open the menu, cross your fingers, and let's hover. And bam, it worked flawlessly. Guys, I am so stoked. And just so you guys know, I got this on the first try. This was not take 2, 3, 4, or 5. I nailed it, and you're going to nail it too. So great job, guys. You have just completed this tutorial on first building out this awesome hero section, then displaying a mobile menu on desktops. And lastly, in today's part of the tutorial, you added this awesome hover effect when you go over the menu items. This will work with any menu that you add. You can add this with any menu you add to that menu module on your Divi theme global header, as we've outlined in this tutorial series. I'm so stoked for you. And with that, guys, that's it. You've done it. You've nailed it. We've nailed it. Great job. We have done something awesome that started as a random post on Reddit about something cool a user saw. Another user took it a step further and hand-coded it. And here we are in Divi, taking a hand-coded design to a Divi layout. Guys, this was Roby with the Divi Engine team. Thank you so much for sticking with me in this journey. I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.